I'll never forget the way she looked at me that night. Like she could see straight through every word I was about to say. It wasn't anger in her eyes or even sadness. It was something deeper. Something that made my heart stop for just a second. My stepdaughter, barely 17, sat across from me in the dim kitchen light, her voice calm but firm as she said, "You don't have to pretend around me." And just like that, the walls I'd carefully built started to crack. When I married her father, I knew becoming a stepmom wouldn't be easy. Blending families rarely is. But I was ready, or at least I thought I was. I tried everything to make it work. Family dinners, game nights, one-on-one talks. I showed up for school events, I remembered the little things. But no matter what I did, there was always a distance between us. A polite kind of silence, like we were both waiting for the other to blink first. And the truth is, I was pretending more than I cared to admit. Pretending to be confident, pretending to feel accepted, pretending this new family life didn't sometimes feel like walking on eggshells. Her father, Mark, would always say, "Give it time, she'll warm up." And I wanted to believe that. I told myself it was just teenage mood swings. Or maybe she was still holding out hope her parents would get back together. I never wanted to take her mother's place. I just wanted to be someone she could trust. But trust doesn't grow out of thin air. Comes from something real. And that night, when she said those words to me, I realized she'd seen more than I thought. What struck me most wasn't just what she said, it was how she said it. Like she'd been carrying this truth around for a while. Like maybe, just maybe, she understood what I'd been feeling too. I didn't know what to say in that moment. I just stared at her, unsure if she was challenging me or offering me something. We just finished dinner. Her dad had already gone upstairs to take a call. It was just the two of us, sitting there with our half-empty plates and the quiet hum of the refrigerator filling the space. I had just complimented her on something, her grades or her artwork, I can't even remember now. And that's when she looked up and said it, calm as ever. "You don't have to pretend around me." It was like time slowed for a second. My hands froze on the edge of the table. All the careful conversations, the polite exchanges, the little moments I thought had gone unnoticed, they had all led to this one sentence. And now the question hanging in the air wasn't just about honesty. It was about what came next. Did she want me to let my guard down? Or was she warning me that she already saw too much? That moment changed everything. But what came after? I never saw it coming. I didn't say anything right away. I just looked at her, searching her face for any kind of hint. Was she being sarcastic? Was she annoyed with me? But no, there was no sharpness in her tone, no eye roll, no smug smile. She was serious. It wasn't a challenge. It was something else. Maybe it was an invitation. Maybe she was tired of pretending to. I opened my mouth to say something, anything, but all I managed was a weak smile. She didn't smile back. She just picked up her glass of water and took a slow sip like she was giving me time. Time to decide if I was going to be honest or keep playing my part. Truth is, I've been pretending a lot more than anyone realized. And not just with her. I've been pretending with Mark too. Pretending that everything was fine, that the little tension between us was normal, that his late nights at work didn't bother me, or that I didn't notice how he always avoided serious conversations when it came to his daughter. He loved her, no doubt, but he also avoided conflict like it was the plague. He wanted peace, even if it meant ignoring the truth. And the truth was, we weren't one big happy blended family. We were three people living in the same house, all trying to figure out our place. And somewhere along the way, I'd stopped trying to connect with her in any real way. Not because I didn't care, but because I was afraid. Afraid of being rejected. Afraid of saying the wrong thing. Afraid she'd see right through me, which apparently she already had. I started thinking about the first time we met. She was quiet, polite, and a little too grown for her age. She didn't act out or push boundaries like I expected. Instead, she observed. Always watching, always thinking. At the time, I took her silence as indifference. Now I wondered if it was something else entirely, something more like guardedness or even sadness. Her mother lives out of state. They talk, but it's not the same as having her around. I never tried to replace her mom, but maybe that was part of the problem. I was always so careful not to overstep that I forgot to just be real. Maybe she saw that. That night, after she said those words, I barely slept. I lay awake thinking about what she meant. Was it a sign she was ready to talk? Ready to let me in? Or was it just her way of calling out the distance between us? Either way, it stuck with me. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized she'd been waiting for me to drop the act. Not to be perfect. Not to be her mother. Just to be honest. The next day things felt different. Not easier, just different. She didn't bring it up again, but something in the way she moved around the house had changed. Lighter maybe. Or maybe I was just noticing her more. Either way, I felt something shifting. But just when I thought things might finally turn a corner, something happened that I never expected. Something that made her words from the night before echo louder than ever. Started with a phone call. One I wasn't supposed to hear. Mark was in his office downstairs, door halfway closed like always. He never bothered shutting it all the way, which meant you could hear bits and pieces if you happened to walk by. I wasn't eavesdropping, not at first. I was just passing through with a laundry basket when I caught my name. Something in his tone made me stop. "I don't know how much longer she can keep this up," he said, his voice low but tense. Yeah, I know. But I didn't think it would get this far. She's trying, but it's obvious she doesn't feel like part of this family. I froze. I stood there holding that basket, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might echo through the hallway. I didn't know who he was talking to. Maybe his sister, maybe a friend, but the words hit me like a punch. So he saw it too. He knew I was struggling. And he hadn't said anything. Later that night, when I asked him about it, he brushed it off. "You're overthinking it," he said. "It's just been a tough adjustment. For everyone." I didn't push. I was used to him avoiding the uncomfortable parts. But now I couldn't unhear what I'd heard. And suddenly, my stepdaughter's words from the night before made more sense. "You don't have to pretend around me." Had she picked up on things between Mark and me too? Had she been pretending in her own way? Then, a few days later, I found the journal. It wasn't snooping. I swear I didn't mean to find it. I was cleaning the living room and it was stuffed under the couch cushions, half hidden. I almost put it aside, but my gut told me to look. And what I read, I can't even explain the feeling. It wasn't a full journal, just a few entries scribbled down. But they were raw. Honest. Angry. Words about not feeling seen. About missing her mom. About resenting her dad for moving on so fast. And one entry in particular that shook me. Asterisk. Sometimes I feel like I'm living with strangers. Like I'm just a guest in my own house. And she tries so hard to act like we're close, but I can tell she's scared of me. Or maybe scared of what I really think. Asterisk. I closed the journal and sat there, staring at the floor. Everything I thought I knew about her. Everything I thought I was doing right. It suddenly felt small. She wasn't cold or distant out of rebellion. She was protecting herself. And I'd been doing the same. We were two people stuck in the same story, both wearing masks we didn't even know we had on. But the journal also hinted at something else. Something I hadn't expected. She mentioned an incident a few weeks before I moved in. Something that happened with Mark. She didn't say much, just a line asterisk after that night. I stopped believing he could ever really hear me again. Asterisk. And just like that, the tension shifted. It wasn't just about me and her anymore. There was something deeper. Something I hadn't been told. And suddenly, I wasn't sure who I could trust. I couldn't stop thinking about what I read in that journal. Those few words. Asterisk after that night asterisk. They looped in my mind over and over. What night? What happened before I came into their lives? The more I thought about it, the more the silence in our house started to feel heavier. Like there were too many things left unsaid, and we were all just walking around them. I tried to act normal the next few days, but I was distracted. Every time I looked at Mark, I wondered what he was hiding. And every time I looked at my stepdaughter, I felt like I owed her more than just polite smiles and small talk. I owed her the truth, or at least a chance to tell hers. One night after dinner, Mark went out to meet a friend. I was cleaning up when I heard her come downstairs. She hovered in the kitchen doorway for a second, then quietly asked if I wanted help drying the dishes. That had never happened before. I didn't make a big deal of it, just handed her a towel and said thanks. We worked side by side in silence for a few minutes before I said gently, "I found your journal." I expected her to shut down, to get angry, to walk away. But she didn't. She stopped drying the plate in her hand and looked at me, eyes wide but not surprised. "You read it?" she asked, voice quiet. I nodded. "Only a few pages. I wasn't trying to." I just didn't know what it was. She set the plate down and leaned against the counter. You saw what I wrote about him? I hesitated. Yes. I don't understand what happened, but I want to. There was a long pause. Her eyes started to water, and she quickly looked away, blinking fast. He didn't hurt me, she said, almost whispering. Not like that. Just, after my mom left, he changed. He stopped listening. Everything was about moving on. Like we were just supposed to start over and forget. I listened, heart pounding. Is that what happened that night? She nodded slowly. I told him I wasn't ready, that I needed more time. And he said I was being dramatic. He told me to stop living in the past. Her voice broke a little, and I felt this wave of guilt wash over me. Not because of anything I'd done directly, but because I had come into their lives during the fallout. And without even realizing it, I'd helped bury something that had never been dealt with. He just kept pushing forward like nothing was wrong, she said. And then you moved in and it was like I didn't have a choice. I had to smile and play along. I wanted to reach for her, to hug her, to say something that would make it better. But I could feel there was still something more. Something she hadn't said yet. I didn't tell you everything, she added, voice barely above a whisper. There's something else. Something I found a few days ago. About him. And just like that, everything shifted again. Whatever she was about to say, whatever she found, it wasn't just about the past anymore. It was about right now. She glanced toward the hallway like she wasn't sure if someone was listening, then looked back at me with this strange mix of fear and resolve in her eyes. I wasn't looking for anything, she said. I was trying to find that charger Dad always hides in the office drawer. But I found something else. Something I don't think he meant for anyone to see. I felt my stomach tighten. She didn't sound like a dramatic teenager fishing for attention. Her voice was steady, serious, and a little scared. I leaned in, barely breathing. What did you find? She pulled her phone out of her hoodie pocket and scrolled for a second before turning the screen toward me. It was a photo, blurry but clear enough to make out. A printed email. The top of the screen showed it had been snapped quickly, like she'd taken the picture in a rush. It was addressed to Mark. From a woman I didn't recognize. The subject line made my throat dry. Asterisk, we need to talk about what happened before your wife finds out. Asterisk, I blinked, staring at the words like maybe I was reading them wrong. This isn't real, is it? She nodded slowly. It's real. I found the printout behind the drawer, stuck in the back. Like he tried to hide it and forgot about it. I stared at the screen again. The message didn't give many details, but the tone was urgent. There were words like covering it up and asterisk, I'm not comfortable staying quiet anymore. Asterisk, no names mentioned. No specific event. But it didn't matter. The meaning was clear. There was something Mark had done. Something someone else knew about. And it sounded like whatever it was, it had happened around the time I came into the picture. My heart was pounding. Did you confront him? She shook her head. No. I don't even know what it means. But I think it's connected to why my mom left. That hit me like a freight train. I had always been told she left because things just didn't work out. Long distance, irreconcilable differences, the usual explanations people give when they don't want to dig too deep. But what if it was more? What if Mark had done something that forced her out? And now, here I was, married to a man I suddenly realized I didn't fully know. I looked at my stepdaughter, really looked at her. All this time she wasn't trying to push me away. She was trying to figure out if I could be trusted. If I'd believe her. I didn't know, I said quietly. I swear I didn't know any of this. I believe you, she said. But if we're both in this house with someone keeping secrets, we need to figure out what we're dealing with. Before I could respond, we heard the front door unlock. Mark was home. We exchanged a look, wide eyes, shared fear, unspoken questions. Then, without saying a word, she slid her phone back into her pocket. Everything felt different now. The lies weren't just in the past, they were right here, sitting under the same roof. And whatever came next, we couldn't pretend anymore. Mark walked in like nothing was wrong, setting his keys on the counter and flashing that usual tired smile. You girls doing okay? He asked casually, heading straight for the fridge. My stepdaughter and I exchanged a quick glance, but we both stayed quiet. My heart was thudding so loud I could barely hear him rummaging for a drink. I need to talk to you, I said finally, trying to keep my voice steady. He turned around, bottle of water in hand. Sure. About what? She stepped forward before I could say more. About the email, she said, clear and direct. The one you printed and hid. The moment those words left her mouth, everything in the room changed. His face didn't drop in shock. He didn't even look confused. Instead, he froze. Just for a second. Then slowly closed the fridge door, not taking his eyes off her. Where did you find that? He asked. You left it behind the drawer, she said. You didn't hide it very well. He looked at me next, and for the first time since I'd known him, I saw something I couldn't quite name. Not guilt. Not fear. Something more resigned. Like he'd known this moment was coming. I was going to tell you, he said, directing it at me. I didn't know how. What is it, Mark? I asked, trying to keep calm, but I could feel my hands shaking. He sighed and sat down at the kitchen table. It was nothing illegal. Just personal. That email was from someone I used to work with. Someone I was involved with briefly after my marriage started falling apart. Before we split for good. My mind raced. Are you saying you cheated? Emotionally, yes. Physically, once. I thought it was over. But after your mom and I separated, he said, turning back to his daughter, I told her everything. I thought she'd understand, but she didn't. She left town and she cut me off. Why didn't you tell me this? I asked. Because I was ashamed, he said. I thought if I buried it I could move on. Start fresh with you. I didn't think it mattered anymore. But it did, his daughter said. It mattered to me. He nodded slowly. I see that now. It was quiet for a long time. The kind of silence that carries the weight of years. I felt something inside me untangle, just a little. Not forgiveness, not yet, but the truth had finally broken through the surface. But just when I thought the air might clear, she reached into her pocket again. There's something else, she said, pulling up a second photo on her phone. I went through the printer history. The email wasn't printed recently. It was printed over a year ago. Asterisk before asterisk, you and Mom separated. Mark's eyes widened. You lied about the timing, she said, voice trembling now. You were already seeing that woman before Mom even left. She didn't leave because of the distance. She left because she found out. And just like that, everything shifted again. The truth wasn't just uncomfortable. It was betrayal wrapped in silence. And now we had to decide what to do with it. Mark didn't say anything right away. He just sat there, shoulders sagging, staring at the floor like the weight of the truth had finally landed. No more excuses. No more hiding. Just silence. And in that moment I realized that everything we thought we were building, this new family, this fresh start, had been sitting on a cracked foundation the entire time. I didn't know what else to do, he finally said, barely above a whisper. I didn't want to lose everything. I thought if I just moved forward, if I loved you both enough, maybe it would cancel out the mistakes. But it doesn't work like that. Not with people. Not with trust. You can't just bury the past and hope no one notices. Because the people who were hurt by it, they remember. Especially kids. My stepdaughter didn't cry. She didn't yell. She just nodded slowly, and then she walked out of the room. Quiet. Calm. But you could feel it in the air, this wasn't over. Not for her. Maybe not for any of us. Mark tried to talk that night, but I told him I needed space. And I meant it. I didn't storm out, I didn't pack a bag. I just needed time to really think. To look at the whole picture. He had lied, yes. He had betrayed the people closest to him. But what hurt the most was how long he let us live in that lie. Let her believe her mom abandoned her. Let me believe I was walking into something honest. Over the next few days, I spent more time with my stepdaughter than I ever had before. We talked not just about what happened but about everything. School. Friends. How she'd been feeling for the past year. Things I should have asked long ago. And even though we didn't say it out loud, something started to shift between us. A slow, careful trust building in the space where everything had cracked. Mark apologized to both of us separately and together. Not with grand gestures or promises but with truth. He admitted to things he tried so hard to keep buried. And for once he didn't try to fix it. He just listened. And while that didn't erase what he did, it was a start. We decided to try family counseling. Not for quick answers but for healing. And that part wasn't just for him. It was for all of us. Some nights I still think about that first moment, when she looked me straight in the eyes and said, "You don't have to pretend around me." I didn't realize it then, but that was the start of everything unraveling, and also the start of something real. Because the truth is, pretending keeps people apart. But honesty, even when it's messy, has the power to bring them back together. We're not perfect. Far from it. But we're no longer pretending. And for the first time since this all began, that feels like enough.